How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. I absolutely love this video that we're going to film here today. The articles that I just found are absolutely nuts, coming from financial titans talking about Bitcoin, and I can't even explain it. I don't know why I'm titling this. I don't know what the thumbnail is, but you have to stay through to this because this is the kind of stuff where maybe it's because I had a little bit too much caffeine without food yet today. But I think it's more just that it's so freaking exciting that we are in Bitcoin right now, and these financial giants, titans, see Bitcoin as an asset that you need to have, but they're trying to scare you away from buying it right now. I'll explain why that is. Stay through if you don't mind. Hit subscribe, turn on the bell notification underneath the video to see future videos just like this one. While you're down there, there is a link to HGAaccess. This is a Patreon group, a private group that I run with about 9 other influencers where we give you information you can't get anywhere else because we're talking to projects, we're talking to companies, we're talking to exchanges all the time. And you can ask questions in there as well to us specifically, which you can't really do anywhere else. There's also a link down there to Margex in case you want to trade cryptocurrency. There's no KYC, which means all you do is put in an email, a password, check their terms and conditions, and you can start trading right away. After you put in your deposit, you can fund it with a Visa card, or you can deposit from some other exchange and start trading. This was a nice run up on Bitcoin, and some people made a lot of money. So if you want to get in before the next Bitcoin pump, or if you even want to short the market, if you think the market's going down, you can set a sell stop. You can short the market here. So definitely check this link out underneath the video. There is a bit of a deposit bonus as well. If you deposit $100 or more, you get 20% that can go towards fees. So Bitcoin dominance is up. If you don't know what Bitcoin dominance is, because I know we have some new people coming in, this is the market cap of Bitcoin versus the market cap of the rest of cryptocurrency. So when it goes up, Bitcoin's doing better than the rest of cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin in general doing pretty well. It's in that upper $41,000 range. Just kind of a quiet day after yesterday was a nice low pump. And I have to show this. We had another big day of miners selling. The miner outflow, this is the Bitcoin that's coming from miners' wallets to go to exchanges to be sold, hit 50,000 Bitcoin, 49,000. That's a lot of Bitcoin being sold, and yet the price still moved up significantly, which is crazy because over the last 5 days, we've literally had an outflow of 40,000, 40,000 again, 56,000, 45,000, and 50,000. So we've had 200 and maybe 220,000 Bitcoin being sold over the last 5 days, and the price has gone up. Tells you there are people buying a lot of Bitcoin out there. Someone is buying hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin because they're absorbing all this and the price is still going up. GBTC has also been selling as well. Now, I wanted to show you this article. This is interesting. This is just coming from a few days ago from Yahoo Finance. It's talking about this investment firm that claims that they crunch the numbers, and when the S&P 500 hits at least one record high in a given year, the year's median return is about 15%. We just hit all-time highs for the S&P 500. So in a typical year, we would see double-digit returns. We'd see a 15% gain in the S&P 500. This is actually really positive for crypto because if the stock market's doing well, people feel wealthy, but they want better returns. They get a little bit greedy, or they just hear about other crypto or other assets that they see have potential. They might be willing to take a little bit more risk and pile into cryptocurrencies. If the market's doing well, people are going to pile into higher risk assets. So I wanted to cover this real quick. I actually saw it in a Dave Ramsey video that was suggested to me today, but this is what I really want to talk about. This article is nuts. So it says the 60-40 portfolio isn't dead and neither is Bitcoin, but mixing them can be lethal. This is coming from actually like 6 months ago from Morningstar. And when you hear this at first, it sounds negative, right? It sounds like, oh, you do not want to buy Bitcoin if you hold a portfolio that's 60-40. This couldn't be further from the truth. I can't believe, I really couldn't believe this article when I read it. They're talking about the returns of a 60-40 portfolio, 60% stocks, 40% bonds. They talk about the Sharpe ratio, which is basically the return divided by the the variability or the volatility. So a high Sharpe ratio is good. It means that the asset performs well and isn't as volatile as other assets. So it's a mixture of the two things. But this is what's so interesting. When it comes to security selection, picking individual stocks, for example, the do-nothing approach may have some merit. But when it comes to asset allocation, there are consequences to portfolio neglect. For example, a 1% allocation to Bitcoin funded proportionally from stocks and bonds this time to replicate the experience of segregating assets can quickly spiral into a 60% allocation if investors fail to reap what they've sown. So they show this chart. Basically, if you had invested 1% of your portfolio in Bitcoin in 2013 and you held it for 10 years, it became 60%. 60% of your portfolio, even while stocks are going up, even while bonds are giving you payouts, and even when they're appreciating, Bitcoin outperformed and 60x'd the size in your portfolio. They're saying that this can be a problem. That's where this title comes from. It says mixing them can be lethal because Bitcoin becomes too big a part of your portfolio because it does too well. They're saying that it's risky to go 1% into Bitcoin because it performs too well. And if you don't diversify from Bitcoin, it could be bad. That's absolutely nuts. They say even one annual rebalance makes a world of difference. There are several edge cases like 2013 and 2017 where the allocation to Bitcoin would have climbed above 5%, but mostly it plods along somewhere between 1% and 2%. For only 15 months out of the entire 10-year holding period does the portfolio overtake the 2% threshold, where the portfolio experiences volatility that's out of spec of the risk profile of the 60/40 portfolio. They talk too somewhere in here about how it is a pain. It's hard to reallocate for a normal investor because a lot of the time Bitcoin is held outside of normal accounts, investing accounts. It's held in Coinbase or it's held in some other platform that's separate from your stocks. And that's what they say is so difficult. It's hard for investors to rebalance because it does so well and because it's in a different portfolio. Well, I've got two solutions for you. Hold on to the Bitcoin because it does much better than the S&P 500. It just does. And now if you do want to reallocate, well, you can buy the Bitcoin ETFs, the spot ETFs, in your retirement account, in your brokerage account, and now it's easy to rebalance. This is something that's great that happened 2.5 weeks ago. Now investors can rebalance a lot easier if they don't want to have to, which, I mean, that's crazy to say. It's not worth buying Bitcoin, or it's lethal because people would have to sell in Coinbase and then transfer it to their bank account and then transfer it over to their brokerage. Like that takes 5 minutes or less. That is absolutely nuts. I can't believe this article, and I can't believe they're just trying to clickbait by saying mixing Bitcoin and the 60/40 portfolio is lethal. It's lethal because it does so freaking well, but that's not what they're trying to say here. They're not trying to make it sound like that. Imagine you have, instead of 1%, you had 2% of your portfolio in 2013. It would be 120%, well, not 120% of your portfolio, but it would be significantly more than your stock portfolio. Even here, Bitcoin would be much larger because it's 60% of the portfolio. So what's left, 40%. So it's 1.5 times the size of the rest of your portfolio. Imagine you have 2%, 3%. Imagine how much money you would have made. Now, Bitcoin is thought of really highly from other institutions too. It's not just this. It's not just this author. This article sounded like it wasn't positive, but it was. This article comes in the wake of the newfound interest in a 2022 BlackRock publication that found the optimal Bitcoin allocation to be a whopping 85%. So they also ran some analysis. I've shown this article before, but they talk about how when you look at how well Bitcoin does, it actually makes sense to go 85%. And they said for like a normal average risk tolerance, but they say if you have more risk tolerance, the math actually works out to be that you would actually want to leverage long. You'd actually want to go like 106% Bitcoin. So actually borrow money to buy Bitcoin. I'm not saying to do that, but that's literally what it says in this BlackRock publication. This is coming from BlackRock. This is coming from the largest institutional player out there, the largest money manager in the world. They have the most assets under management of anyone. They're bigger than Vanguard, bigger than Fidelity, and they're saying literally go to the bank, take a loan out, and put it into Bitcoin. At least that's what they say from a purely math standpoint. Now, I think there's more to it. You can't just do that, and not everyone can do that and handle the volatility. I don't think that's smart, but I think there will be people that put in 1%, 5%, 10% over the next couple of years. They'll want to get an allocation to Bitcoin. And yeah, after people see Bitcoin's price moving up, I mean, it's up, almost 200% from the very bottom. It moved up 200% from the bottom when we peaked out a couple of weeks ago. I think people will hear about this. It'll be all over the place in ads, on YouTube, on TV. It'll be people talking about it at their office. People will talk about how Bitcoin's hit all-time highs, and that's when the FOMO starts. So if you're in it right now, you're in ahead of the curve. Now, I want to talk about a few other cryptocurrencies. I do appreciate you staying this long, but stay through a little bit longer because there are some cryptocurrencies that had some controversies recently that I want to talk about. But first, Vanar Chain. Vanar Chain is a crypto that I've been paying attention to. They've done a bit of a rebrand. You can actually see here on CoinMarketCap. I heard about this first from a huge influencer, Lark Davis. He talked about how this was like one of the top cryptocurrencies to look at. I think this was back in 2023. And they did a rebrand from TVK to Vanry, just doing like a token swap. And over the last couple months, they're up like 200%. You have tripled your money. And then they're a $72 million market cap. Now, this is a partner of the channel. I've worked with them in the past, but I'm paying attention to this one because they're jumping into gaming. And gaming is really interesting to me for this next bull run. They just welcomed Verse Digital to their ecosystem. Verse Digital has enabled household names like Coca-Cola, D&G, and Samsung to venture into the metaverse. Now their experience in sculpting digital universes comes to Vanar, and they give a little article. I'll leave a link to Vanar underneath the video too if you want to check them out. But they are a layer 1 blockchain that's now focused more on gaming. You can see too, they just posted this, addressing a $300 billion market for revolutionary ecosystem modules for micropayments, gaming APIs, marketplaces, metaverse and spatial, gamification and social, games, network, social wallets, minting tools. And yeah, they've been making some waves recently. I'm paying attention to this for the next bull run. And like I said, the price has done really well. It's consolidating up here, still chopping upward though, from about 5 cents to 6 cents now, going up to about 7 cents just about 10 days ago. Now, Ape Terminal and SAVM, Satoshi VM, I've been getting a lot of flack for this in the comment section. I just want to clear up some stuff. Satoshi VM was something that I had talked about on the channel. Before it even launched, I talked about this cryptocurrency, and it's been shrouded in some controversy recently. I've been getting some comments talking about how like I shilled this to my audience and then it's done so poorly. If you look up Satoshi VM on something besides CoinMarketCap, because CoinMarketCap got this price late, like it had already launched. If you look at this on DEX tools, for example, Satoshi VM is up over 10x since it launched on Uniswap. Some investors are up 500x or 50x. Some were up even more. It did extremely well. This was the talk of the town on YouTube, on Twitter for a little while. It went up to $15. Then it had some controversy with the company or the Launchpad. A lot of people said, including the Launchpad, said that Satoshi VM had just dumped tokens. They gave team members, or they sniped tokens. The team members sniped tokens and just dumped. Now it's starting to move up. It is moving up recently over the last day, up about 25% because apparently the Launchpad that accused Satoshi VM of doing this met with the SAVM team, the Satoshi VM team yesterday, and they realized they recognized they were presented false sources, especially via DMs from the team of a specific competitor. So they cleared everything up, and now the token price is doing well. This is the crazy stuff that can happen in crypto. There can be so much drama, and then it works out to nothing. And from Satoshi VM side too, or Mac side, who they thought that Mac was the starter of Satoshi VM. He apparently talked about this too, and apparently everyone is copacetic now. Everyone's happy moving forward. Ape Terminal still has some of the best launches. I've talked about this one before. I know that they're going to launch a token here soon. It'll be interesting to see how this does after all this is cleared up. It sounds like it probably will do well. There's a lot of excitement about Ape Terminal. There's a lot of excitement about Satoshi VM too, or there was a lot of excitement. I still think there are so many creators that are in on Satoshi VM, and it's controversial because creators bought early. Some creators were given allocation to do certain amounts of work or mention them and stuff like that. Satoshi VM was something that I invested into. I said that ahead of time that I was invested in it, that I thought it was going to do well. To do your own research, I'm not a financial advisor. And to be clear, anyone that bought at $15 should know that they were buying when this was already up 150x and that some people would take profits. This is just how it works. Whenever anything goes up a lot in crypto, there are going to be people taking profits. You get to do that. You get to do that if you buy in early. So same thing with something bigger. If you were strong enough or smart enough to buy Bitcoin when it was down at 16,500, you can do whatever you want. You can sell it, you can keep it, right? The next bull run, all these cryptocurrencies, including Satoshi VM, will probably be up. So if you sell now, you might miss out in the future. If you buy now, it can always fall down. It can go to zero. Hopefully everyone knows that. If you don't know that, if you are not willing to take that, I can't think of the word, but if you aren't willing to realize that you are the one that controls what you buy, what you sell, if someone talks about something and it does poorly, it just happens. Everything can fall down to zero. So hopefully everyone knows that. I will talk about cryptocurrencies that do extremely well over the next year or two. They're going to be 100x's, 500x's, maybe even 1000x. They're going to be cryptos that go down to zero that I mentioned too, right? That's why you diversify. That's just something we all have to deal with. So there are high risks in crypto. If you're not ready to see something fall 50% a day, 70% a day, 90% a day, you're in the wrong asset class. Or maybe you just want to stick to Bitcoin. Like I've said in the past, I am mostly Bitcoin. I'm like 70, 80% Bitcoin, right? So just know that ahead of time. Thank you so much. Again, you can check out the links to Margex, to HGAaccess, to Vanar underneath the video, all partners of the channel, or things I literally created like HGAaccess with a few other creators. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I hope you have a great weekend. I hope those articles were really interesting to you. I found those fascinating. I'll see you in the next video.